It's been happened before now.
So I'd like to introduce Naomi Johnson to you, who is going to do a session on LinkedIn and how to build our business and get paid our worth as well. So over to you, Naomi.
Thank you. Cool. So I did a 60 seconds earlier, so you did get a little bit of background on me. And it's a real privilege to be here to share this with you because it's a subject I absolutely love and one that I've actually spent the last 12 years developing and coming up with. I started my career my self-employed career at 27, fresh out of my graduate job at the university in the Students' Union, saying, I'm going to be a life coach, and off I went. 2.5 years later, completely bummed out. I was stuck in my flat in London, couldn't actually travel anywhere because I couldn't pay to travel, and it was a stinking hot day, and I just remember being on the side of the road with broken sandals, a letter in my hand, which was a timesheet for my flatmate's employment. She'd flown off to Australia, someone else had flown off to Sweden, the two had gone back to Sweden, and I was literally alone in this house, and they decided to rent out their rooms, so I literally ran a youth hostel for the summer. And I decided I was going to rent my bed out as well, and slept on the sofa because I was that broke. And I was standing there, it was a steaming hot day, I've broken sandals, I've got this letter, I've got to put it in the post, but I need a stamp. And the co-op won't sell me one stamp, I have to buy a book of stamps, but I don't have £3.60 to buy these stamps, and I also don't have the shoes or the ability to walk a mile to the post office. If I don't put this letter in the post, she ain't getting paid, the rents ain't getting paid, and I already knew I wasn't paying the rent. So it was pretty bad. And all the while my phone's ringing and it's the creditors saying, you're going to give us your amount of money back. And this was the summer of 2008, so I wasn't the only one. That's when the financial crash happened in London, and I have to say, it had nothing to do with me. Like, that crash did not affect that. That's not the wrong way around, but it didn't impact my business. The damage was already done. I'd already made every single mistake in the book, and it was going to happen whatever way things rolled that summer. And so basically, I wrote a book about it called Grassroots to Green Shoots, and it really kind of goes into the lessons I learned starting up a business and what I got wrong. And long story short, I ended up working with a lady called Hannah McNamara, running a company called Marketing Help for Coaches. Loads from her, ended up taking over her company, which is why she gave me the company, because of the book. But a certain amount of time into running the company, I started to obviously realise coaches, they either have money and they don't need your help, or they don't have money and they can't pay for your help. So, and also I realised that I wasn't also doing this thing methodically either. And this basically just led me to go to work for a friend selling LinkedIn training. And the LinkedIn training that we were offering was in partnership with LinkedIn. They were the first ever certified LinkedIn trainers. He had written a book called How to Really Use LinkedIn, which was actually given out to LinkedIn employees. And we spent quite a lot of time in LinkedIn's offices and also around the Rock Your Profile stand at their global conference, 2 years running, as well as their social recruiting conference. In that time, when I joined the company, they actually didn't have any kind of way of getting the leads in a way that would really work. And I said, well, let me offer people a LinkedIn profile review. The logic being, people love to know about themselves and how they're doing and what they look like. And I was like, very confident that people would get on the phone with me. And they did. After about a year of doing this, probably about 20 a week, talking to the person on the phone, learning about their business and their ambitions, I started to realised that I was repeating myself, as you would. So I wrote my second book, What to Put on Your LinkedIn Profile. This is actually the 2018 edition, so it's all up to date this year. The last one was 2015. And when what I was also doing was I'd been on the Key Personal Influence course with Daniel Priestley. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. Yeah. I was on the very first programme he did in 2010. So when I was giving these profile reviews, I was also bringing a lot of his content into it, and people were like, wow, if this is what you're giving away for free, imagine what the training course is like. So they'd come on the training course and yes, they'd learn something. But what they learned and what they implemented and the results they got was really to be questioned, because we all know you go on a training course, you're probably going to remember about 10%, and it's always dissipating every single day. So with that, I realised that I wanted to do things differently. And just as I was saying, look, we need to change this course around, we went over to Ireland, we're in LinkedIn's offices, we were meeting all the different account managers there, came out, got in the taxi back to the airport, and I said, guys, they make the money out of recruitment stuff. We know it's £10,000 plus per person using it. Why are we selling LinkedIn's training to small businesses and entrepreneurs when they clearly want us to do something different. And with that, the business completely turned around. My income completely stopped because I didn't have that quick turnaround of sale anymore. And they got bought out by a billionaire in America, going down the corporate route. But I knew I had something very different, and I knew that what I was offering was very, very timely. So I decided to jump ship at that moment, and literally had no notice this was going to happen. The culture was so different in the takeout. I was like, I can't do it, I'm gone. And started up my own business, selling LinkedIn profiles to people. And over the course of time, as I said in the 60 seconds, I started to realise that a lot of people didn't have the foundations they needed in their business to actually make it work, to actually make LinkedIn work for them. So it's a bit of a vanity piece. It's like, yeah, it pictures and says what you do, but it didn't actually generate them business. So a lot of people I would turn away because I'm all about making sure you get a return on investment. And then I wrote a training course for it, and now that's kind of like evolved into what I now call the expert economy, which I'll tell you about at the end if you're interested. So today, what I'd really like to talk about is like, what are some of the key things on LinkedIn that you need to get in place in order to make it work for you. Does that sound interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've obviously, I've heard your 60 seconds, so I do have an idea of yourselves. And obviously it's small groups, so the more I can like apply this to your business and pick on you and say, for example, if that's not for you, just go, whoa, no, don't do it. But I think we're all pretty confident people, so hopefully you'll get some real value out of this today. And honestly, it's very different to what you might find another LinkedIn trainer to do. And I'll be honest, recently I just went on a tour up north, and the person who put me on the tour got very angry at me because I wasn't saying, click here, click here, click there. I think, but people won't remember. And that's the key thing. Unless you've got a strategy that's right for your business, that you're naturally implementing every single day, showing you what the platform does and clicking different places is really going to mean very little to you at all. The key thing that you want actually is to get sales. And you do know how to do that. You're very personable people, you know how to build relationships. It's just about using the platform to actually allow you to go further faster. So I'm going to walk you through some of the foundational principles that go into the business, and then I want to talk to you about how you can actually put it together in your content and actually your LinkedIn profile as well to work with you. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Cool. So I did flash the screen a minute ago, but what do you... God, I look really great in that picture. What would you say the outcome is that you want to get from LinkedIn?
Inquiries.
Yeah.
Inquiries, okay.
Mm.
What else?
Sales.
Thank you. Sales. That's what you want really, isn't it? Because, I mean, I'm being quite crude here because we just don't want to sit there all day. We need to get really specific about what we want, because we're not just going to sit there dealing with inquiries, because that could be just nothing. So sales is what we want, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually 3 inquiries, 3 sales, happy days.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're from your ideal prospects. So then we want sales. What needs to happen in order to get a sale?
You have to build relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
and then get them interested, and then deliver
Deliver.
whatever it is you're selling.
Oh, but the agreement for the sale comes before you deliver it, though, doesn't it?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So in order to get them to agree to pay you to deliver, what needs to happen first?
They need to click on your profile and read about it first, and that needs to stimulate them to want to contact you.
Okay, so that's that. The sales here, and that's where. What goes in the middle?
They're going to trust that you're going to be able to do what you say you're going to do.
Yep. So that's
Recommendations? Or?
Yep. So checking you out online, working out who you are. What else needs to happen?
You've got to make sure there's a fit. You've got to provide a product or service that suits a need that they have.
The actual problem they actually have, and they diagnosed it properly. Yeah. So how do you find that out?
Questions,
So your
conversation.
conversation. Okay, cool. So with LinkedIn, sales is your outcome. That's what we're there for. But also, sales require appointments. So what we really want from LinkedIn is an appointment. And one of the things I say a lot is the real magic of LinkedIn happens when you get the person off the platform and onto the phone. So what we don't want is these conversations that drag on for a couple of weeks, back and forths, because someone might not log in for 3 or 4 days, and the energy will get forgotten around what they read in your profile and what excited them from something that you posted. They'll forget, and it'll just drag on, and it will become to nothing. So the real magic is to get the sales appointment. And in the sales appointment, you need to be able to add value, diagnose, ask questions, have that permission to discover. But also inside of that, what we want to do is we want to make it worth their while. Because if I said to you guys, I'm offering a free sales appointment, would you like to come? Would you come?
Well, maybe not.
No. Why would you not come to my free sales appointment? It's free. I'm giving you my time for free. Why would you not come?
Why do you need to give people your time for free?
Good question. But why would you like to come to a sales appointment with me?
Well, what am I going to get out of it?
Do you want to be sold to?
No.
Nobody comes to be sold to. Oh, go away. And I think so one of you touched on it's all about relationships. So sometimes that can jump over the whole, oh, I'm being sold to. So if you say, no, yes, if you're interested in my services, come for a sales appointment. No one's going to do it because nobody wants to be sold to. So what we need to do is we actually need a sales point that adds value. So the call to action needs to be a compelling call to action that adds value. There needs to be an exchange of a valuable exchange between the two of you, because what you offer for free is actually a very expensive offer in your business. I haven't got the presentation made up, unfortunately, so I can only see what you're saying. It's actually a very expensive thing in your business because it's your time. But have you ever considered just how expensive it is for your prospect as well? Why do you think it might be expensive for your prospect to give up half an hour to speak to you?
Because then their time has a value as well, and it may be that their hourly rate is actually higher than yours.
Yep.
So
So
it'd be more
it's just
expensive,
time, isn't it? Just time, yeah. And what else do you think? What else would it cost them to speak to you?
Attention.
Attention? Yeah.
So you're pulling them off of something that they may have already been doing.
Yes, there's an opportunity cost that they should be doing something else. What else? It's very subtle actually, so maybe I should tell you the answer. We've got half an hour. And the actual thing is it's vulnerability. And they will have the trust that you're going to hold that information confidentially with you. Especially if you meet people out networking. If I've come to you, for example, and I've expressed something very vulnerable in the opening of your services, what have you, which is probably not going to happen with yourself, but when I come to networking next time, oh my gosh, she knows about that. So there has to be a level of trust, and there has to be a big enough exchange that I want to be vulnerable with you. Also, not to forget that if I get vulnerable with you, what am I getting in return for that? Because if you just say, oh yeah, end of the call, bye, and I'm left open and vulnerable, it doesn't help me. Even if it's not like really personally vulnerable, maybe I've spent time on the phone with you and I've told you everything that's wrong in my business, and you've gone, oh yeah, great, Now what? Where does this go? Why did I invest in an hour without getting anything in return? So it is a very costly experience, and there has to be enough time in that sales appointment for you to present back what you're doing, but also it has to be full of content and really valuable. So when I get onto the psychology of how people buy, I'll start to see how this really goes together. But your sales appointment actually needs to be structured with a really clear plan, because you've only probably got half an hour of someone's time to set the stage as to who you are and your authority on the subject, to ask all the questions you need in order to diagnose if they actually have a problem and how big is the problem, and is the problem something they need to invest in, and then ask them if they would like to hear about how you can help. So, and also how you structure that will dictate whether you stay in control of the conversation and therefore can ask all the questions you need to, and also whether you have permission at the end of the call to buy. Because one of the key things, and I use my own business as an example, when you offer a LinkedIn profile review, time, vulnerability, opening up, they want something back from it. But, oh no, where was I going? Oh yes, right, add value. So I tell people how to do absolutely everything for themselves. And yesterday a guy was saying to me, yeah, no, I've already sold, I just want you to do it for me. And I'm like, no, I've got to slow you down. I'm not just going to write your LinkedIn profile for you. Firstly, I need to check if this is a profile I want to write and that I'll actually enjoy it. And secondly, I need to make sure you can get return on investment for it, and that actually this is a good idea and you couldn't just do it for yourself. And if someone can just do it for themselves, I let them get on with it. Because I only want to work with people who really, really value what it is that I offer. Yeah? So if I said to you, and this is a real situation actually, years ago I was moving out of a flat and I was talking to someone on Sunday night and I said, yeah, we're moving out Monday morning. And I sold the cooker and someone's coming over to pick it up. Because is it a gas cooker? I said, yes. He goes, do you have a proper plumber coming over to unhook it? And I said, no. And he goes, do you know it's actually illegal for you to unplug it yourself, because you might do it wrong, you might break part of the mechanism and you create a gas leak. You actually need a plumber to come out, a British Gas coming. And I was like, no. He goes, I'm a plumber, I'll come over and do it for you. The price is £50. And of course I felt like I had to do it. Went home, told my housemate. We were both like really pretty mad about it, and I was like, well, we have to, you know. The guy came over and he did it for free, but I was quite resentful. We were both resentful at having to pay for that because we felt we could do it ourselves. And it's the same with what we're doing in our business. If I feel like I have to pay you money to do something when actually I could do it for myself, I'm going to resent it. And what we don't want when we're working so personally and so closely with people, when we're on the edge, you know, our self-esteem and us are on the edge, we don't want to get ourselves into that kind of situation. We actually want people to be so grateful to work with us that not only do they pay all the money and pay it on time, but they actually want to help out some more because they're so grateful. Like I have clients who coach me back and don't even realise they're doing it, and I should be paying them. Or they offer for me free this and free that. I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. Like, didn't you just pay me a chunk of money? But the point is, we want to work with people who really do need our services. So in order to elicit that and find that out, and we need to add value. We need to pitch exactly like what it is that we can offer them, and say how it is that we can help them, and where necessary, give them the tips and help that they need. So if you two were talking, probably you sound pretty skilled up on this stuff already. Maybe you've had conversations before, but I would doubt Joanne would pay you £1,000 right now because she's got a good track record of 2 others. But there might, do you know what I mean? It's like, is it really that bad, or should I give you my friend who had to get her mother over to tell the kids off? Do you see what I mean? Like, those where you get the most, you know, excitement from. So it's being really clear and just going, giving away the advice when necessary for free when it, you know, there's no real need to exchange. And do you know what happens when you do that? When you give away that advice in that set period of time, and you say, look, just go fix it. Just do that, you'll be fine. And they do get that result. Do you know what happens?
Confidence in you.
Yeah, confidence in you, they remember you.
I should just say confidence and trust.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to recommend you as well.
Exactly. So they're more likely to recommend you to other people, but also the cocktail effect happens when anyone in this local area usually mentions LinkedIn, my name comes up. Because they've all had an experience of my LinkedIn and my training, and they're like, LinkedIn Naomi. And so you want parenting, you see what I mean? So you come up, it's literally like book layouts. Sam comes up. So it's that kind of effect that, and also if someone's been on the workshop that you were mentioning, and there's a lot, you said there's a lot of like how not to do it, and people get like what have you. If I came on that, which actually I probably would, if I came on that to learn from you, what that means is that when we're having a conversation, and you say, yeah, I think I'm like, I've written my draft and I think I'm going to lay it out and blah, blah. Do you know what? I actually heard Sam talk the other day, and she said this and this can happen, and then that can happen, and then this can happen. You really are better off just getting a professional to do it for you. How grateful are you to me doing that? Do you see what I mean? And because now I'm actually equipped to be able to have that conversation, whereas before I wouldn't have been able to. So I might say, no, actually, I'll lay out my own book, but I've got enough knowledge now to go, yeah, I did it because I have whatever skills, but perhaps you need Sam. Do you see what I mean? So this is the other reason why we give all the information away and we help. So then, when all that's backed up on LinkedIn, of course, there's just that cascading effect. And this is why I say it's not just about LinkedIn, it's about actually how you structured the business in the first place. In our time-sensitive businesses, where it is just us, we have to protect our business, our time, and our mental health, because when we start to struggle and suffer, I think we all know it goes horribly wrong. So what we want to do is we actually want to stand out in our industry. We want to stand for something. And I always talk about standing for a problem that you solve, because people pay for problems to be solved. They don't just pay for the sake of it. They have a problem, they need it fixed, they're going to pay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to transform somebody. We want to take them from where they are now to where they want to get to. And we want to make it really, really tangible that people talk about it, and also we get known in our industry as an expert. Because our businesses really are time sensitive. Time is money, as we can all agree. What we want then is our prospects to come to us pre-sold and ready to buy from us. They already see us as an expert, they've found us naturally through social media or wherever, and they've come to us ready, knowing that they trust us and like us, and they go, and she offers this really helpful appointment, I think I'll take that. So then, look, whatever the issues are in a business, you can offer them a diagnostic, You can take them through half an hour. You could perhaps get them to do an online quiz when you get to that stage in a year or something. So people have got an idea of the level and extent of their problem to really show up for that phone call, really see the value. Because a lot of people don't know they have problems, they're just living with the symptoms. And they don't diagnose those symptoms as a problem, and therefore they're not looking for a solution. For as long as someone's not looking for a solution, SEO ain't gonna work. Keyword optimization, all of that is just not gonna work because your ideal prospects aren't looking. And if they're not looking, then obviously you're not gonna get in touch with those people. Those who are looking, they already know their problem, they already feel like they're an expert in their own problem. And of course you'll be competing on price, you'll be tendering with about 5 or 6 other people. We can cut all of that out for going after a pool of people that your competitors are not talking to. Does that sound interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really very much about exposure. So I've come across loads of people who do your job. But that exposure I had to you this morning, and you really went into the big holidays, you're my woman, I'm coming to you. Do you know what I mean? It's that level of exposure and also that level of niching and specificity and that coming through that makes me now say, ooh, you know, so if you used to LinkedIn to put more of those kind of like, I'm sure there's videos associated with these holidays and...
Yes, talk to the social media.
But it should be really easy because they would already have them. So all you need to do,
I've got loads of them in my
you just need to post them up and then have a little conversation in the status about it, and then you will get known for the big experiences. And then the 2-week Mallorca holidays will just disappear because people will go, because you'll be like, actually I'm just too busy with 5 of these. Do you know what I mean? So, and this is where you stand out for something and you show your expertise at something. And it's those little things like the Bangkok airport, that's a status update. You know, like, oh, just had a message from a client, they've just had this and this and this because Bangkok airport now is da-da-da-da. Oh, I didn't know that before. And you're not going for likes and comments and shares. That's just vanity. You're actually going for those little seeds that have been dropped. It's not even about how many people clicked on the article and read it. It's what they got in that status update and went, moving on. Because we all read it in order to decide we're not going to read it, right? So if we drop enough into that status update that I get the point, not relevant to me today, but I still got the point. Do you see what I mean? It's how we do the status update. So in the old days, what used to happen was someone independently would identify they had a problem. Then they would start doing their research into potential providers, get the yellow pages out, make some phone calls, put some keywords into Google eventually. Then they'd shortlist 5 people. They would come to you, you would put a proposal in, which you don't want to do because you haven't got time for this kind of crap. They would shortlist a person, you would probably come in and intend to have a meeting, they would approve one person, and then they would buy from that supplier. We can absolutely eradicate all of that by using LinkedIn. And the other platforms if you want to, obviously, because a lot of this crosses over. But why do you think social media has changed the game, and in what way?
It's quicker, isn't it? You can do something in 5 minutes that would take you before a long time.
Do you mean create it, or do you mean like promote it?
Sort of like if you wanted to look for something, or it's quicker to do it
Yeah,
through that,
Mhm.
is it?
the instant access to information.
Yeah.
But then again, they're only looking for that information because they've already identified they want it. So let me just tell you the answer. I just thought like so much together. Oh my word.
No, carry on, it's fine.
Okay, cool. I was like, wow. So I'll just do the next bit and then we're pretty good then. The reason is because people who don't know they have a problem and aren't looking for a solution will see it on LinkedIn because it's coming through their network and their connections. So you know how I said that people have problems, but they don't know they have problems, but they're living with symptoms. So those symptoms are showing up in their life. So if you've got staff that are constantly leaving, you've got 50% turnover of staff, you just think it's normal. You think it's normal so you don't have a problem, but 50% is exceptionally high. And the knock-on effect to a business is very extreme, 50% per year, you know. So when you can actually start to talk to people and say, actually 50% is really high, you want to go for about 5%, and here's all the consequences of why. And then you can actually start pointing out to them perhaps some of the reasons why your staff leave. Suddenly, a business owner who didn't know that they were the problem as a very bad leader, oh, I could be a bad leader. And they also, they recognise firstly, 50% isn't normal, what's the problem? Then they diagnose it, I'm the problem, and you're going to be my coach because you helped me realise this. Does that make sense? So you've got people who don't even know they have a problem, that you can get in touch with, you can get in front of them by talking to their symptoms. Because if they're feeling the pain of it, they're probably going to read your article, read your status update, or be interested in what you're saying. Yeah? So the new way of how people buy actually looks like this. So we talked a minute ago about that transformational package, taking a person from where they are now to where they want to get to. That's your promise, and that's where you want to work on those really juicy projects that you've got something to talk about, because you're continuing to learn and grow, and people become really interested in the work you did for that person. So once you've done the transformational package, it moves into evidence, case studies, testimonials, portfolio work, that kind of thing. But I'm sure you put your portfolio work up and say, this is what we've done as a designer. When we actually do that, the best way to write, and I actually had to do it for my design agency client, had to go through, she was responsible for, in the European Union, there were 72 reports about, let's say, tuberculosis, and her agency nailed it all the way down into one for the whole of Europe by getting all the information together. But she just said, look at the report we did. And I said, well, do you want to just tell the story of how you got it all down and how your staff absolutely loved it? And then let's create the visual. They literally brought the 72 reports to their agency in a wheelbarrow and dumped it. Do you see how that creates a story? And then it's like, wow, disseminate that much information. I can see the value of one report. It starts the cogs going. So what we've done here is we've used a transformation that we've done, and we've created evidence to say we did it, but we've also created awareness in how we tell the story about how it all came about. So creating awareness, I've got new lead at the top. I just realised I've deleted some other slides, and there should be bits here. New lead is someone who doesn't know they have a problem and are not looking for a solution. Talk to the symptoms. I've then become aware that potentially I have a problem. At which point, and if you can just imagine it says identify there, at which point I go, oh my god, I identify with that, that feels like me. Yeah? Yeah, go for it. With me in it. All over. So basically, we create awareness, then we identify with it and go, oh, that's me. We're intrigued. Do you see how my whole body moves forward? Oh, it's me. And then we start to research it and go, well, to what extent is it me? Is this showing up in my life? Is my book badly designed? Is my logo bad? Are my processes and proposals bad? Are my kids not got any direction? Have I got bad holidays? We all start to go, tell me a bit more. At which point we'll diagnose it. And we'll say, yeah, actually, my leadership is the problem. My branding is the problem. And once we've diagnosed it, we could be correct, or we could be wrong. We could have misdiagnosed ourselves. What's the next thing that people naturally will start doing once they decide, let's go with leadership? I think I'm a bad leader, and that's why my staff are leaving me. What do you think I'm going to do next?
Try and fix it themselves.
Self-remedy.
So maybe I would want to find out from my people if they really have that opinion of me. Terrible, yes. And maybe I want to read a book. There's a number of things we want to go through. What they're not going to do straight away is pick up the phone to that leadership person and spend £5 with them. They need to know how, and you don't also, as that person, the coach, you don't have the time to walk them through all of that. So if you were perhaps to provide them with a download that said, here's some questions you can go subtly ask. Why don't you use this survey? Or why don't you use this company to do some 360-degree feedback for you and then get them to compile it? And here's some tips to get you started, and here's some things. So they can start to actually have a go at it. Because if they can fix the problem themselves, we want them to. And if they can't, they're going to go, whew, yeah, this is really serious. This guy really knows what he's talking about. This is really helpful. Built a relationship, we built rapport with them, we feel helped. This is why we write books. Because the relationship is all there. At which point, the person who's been helped and doesn't need your help anymore will go away and tell everybody else about it. And those who do need your help will get to hear, or I should say invest, and they'll go, yeah, I need to invest in a solution. LinkedIn research has shown that if you start the journey with somebody here and get them all the way to the point that they're going to invest, 88% of people will buy from you. They will not go to anybody else. And also you can set it up in such a way that you can go and talk to another supplier and think they just don't know what they're talking about, because you feel more equipped as a buyer. And these days, 57% of a buying decision is made online, We are individual, we are doing it for ourselves. We don't want to speak to a salesperson until we're ready. We want to gather all of our information. So if we can match our information to what our client's looking for and get them to that 57%, then the final job is on the 53% of that sales conversation. And then we need to stay in control of the conversation. I won't have off-the-cuff phone calls with anyone. And I had to say that to someone yesterday. I said, book an appointment. No, just call me between these hours. Here's my telephone number. No, I'm not going to do that. When you're walking down the street, picking stuff out of the supermarket, whatever you might be doing in that 2-hour period when I call you, I'm not doing it. We're having a focused, concentrated conversation where we can really work out and literally take people back through this process to work out if my solution's the right one for them. We ask permission to be able to make the sale at the end, and then we go through the whole process, and it all feeds in and around again. And that is how we, as expert entrepreneurs, we don't have a lot of time. We want to be billing for 70% of our time and moving the pieces around for the rest of it. We literally will only meet with a person here and go to there. And we can write different things up there if we want to. Obviously, this is our content. We don't spend too much time on it because a lot of it is all happening for us. Profile is, yes, it's your LinkedIn profile, but it's also your website and anything else that's showing up on Google. You don't need all those things. You just need that compelling offer for someone to get on the phone with you in the first place and to stand out for what you do. So when you look at that in terms of a LinkedIn profile, it's actually the structure. This one isn't in there. Maybe some attachments of content saying, hey, I've got a book, I've got an online course. That can all be there. But you can literally create awareness straight off in the profile and then invite people to the sales call. And then in the experience on your profile, you want to talk about how you transform people's businesses, and so then people know, okay, working with you, that's what I can expect. This is what it would look like. I can see myself doing that. That seems like something really worth my time. I'm going to take them up on the offer and have a conversation. And I'm going to have a conversation because I trust them, they seem really authoritative, they know what they're talking about, and they've nailed it according, like with my situation. And then it all comes together quite nicely. Does all that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, have you got any questions? And maybe 6 minutes over, so that's okay.
That's fine. Have anyone got any questions?
Do you want me to apply it to your business or anything?
I think that would be a useful exercise to go through.
Anyone want to raise a hand?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So obviously, it's laying books out. You get involved once the manuscript's edited and printed.
Yeah, but I don't just stop at book design. I do then the publishing,
Getting it out all the
fulfillment,
time.
and as well, but on behalf of the client. So unlike the sharks that I mentioned, it's published on behalf of the client in their name. They own their ISBN numbers, and everything like that.
Okay. I just realised I can't get online, so I'll just not distract myself. Okay, so your thing there would be